This is Outnumbered. I'm Andrea Tanteros, and here with us today, Harris Faulkner, Sandra Smith, commentator and national spokeswoman for the LIBRE Initiative, Rachel Campos-Duffy, and today's hashtag One Lucky Guy, we welcome to the couch former Speaker of the House, 2012 presidential candidate, and Fox News contributor and author of the brand new book, Duplicity, a Thriller. Newt Gingrich is here with us, and we are so glad that you are here with us, Mr. Speaker. But again, we do remind you, you are outnumbered. You are welcome.
I feel like I'm outnumbered.
It's great to have you.
I very seldom have four women this attractive surrounding me, so that's, you know, I'm happy. You want to extend it to 2 or 3 hours? It's okay.
Well, all right.
You're overtime too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to the news because it's a huge political day, and we are so happy you're here.
Yeah.
All right. What a battle it was in Boulder last night. Republicans facing off in their third Republican primary debate, filled with exciting moments, with eyes on frontrunners Donald Trump and Ben Carson. Heated exchanges all around. Here's Trump and Ohio Governor John Kasich going at it over tax reform.
You just don't make promises like this. Why don't we just give a chicken in every pot while we're coming up with these fantasy tax schemes? We'll just clean it up. Where are you going to clean it up?
This is the man that was a managing general partner at Lehman Brothers when it went down the tubes and almost took every one of us with us. He was so nice. He was such a nice guy. And he said, oh, I'm never going to attack. But then his poll numbers tanked. That's why he's on the end. And he got nasty. So you know what? You can have him.
Later, Ben Carson gets asked about how he could serve on the board of a company like Costco, a company regarded as gay-friendly.
Why would you serve on a company whose policies seem to run counter to your views on homosexuality?
Well, obviously you don't understand my views on homosexuality. I believe that our Constitution protects everybody, regardless of their sexual orientation or any other aspect. I also believe that marriage is between one man and one woman, and that there is no reason that you can't be perfectly fair to the gay community. They shouldn't automatically assume that because you believe that marriage is between one man and one woman, that you are a homophobe.
And in a moment that had lots of jaws on the floor, Jeb Bush going after the man that he mentored, Marco Rubio, attacking him for missing votes in the Senate.
Marco, when you signed up for this was a 6-year term, and you should be showing up to work. I mean, literally, the Senate, what is it, like a French work week? You get like 3 days where you have to show up? You can campaign or just resign and let someone else take the job.
Let me tell you, I don't remember you ever complaining about John McCain's vote record. The only reason why you're doing it now is because we're running for the same position, and someone has convinced you that attacking me is going to help you.
Well,
Here's the bottom line. My campaign is going to be about the future of America. It's not going to be about attacking anyone else on this stage.
Sparks flying everywhere. So what does the former speaker think? And before I ask your winners and losers, I want you to react to that soundbite, because that was one of the top 3 moments in my estimation of the evening.
Well, I think it was surprising that Jeb would do that. Jeb is not a great fighter. It's not his. He's got lots of strengths, but being in that kind of a back-and-forth brawl isn't his strength. Rubio's very smart, and he's very fast. And, you know, you don't want to pick a fight with a guy like that unless you're prepared to stay in the ring with him. And other than Trump, I'm not sure there's anybody else who could stay in the ring with Rubio.
Right. Well, what was weird to me is that he echoed the point that Rubio was debunking, and Jeb sounded like he was part of the liberal media that Rubio just dropped the mic on.
You know, one of the points that Britt, you made last night was that to bring that up after Rubio had destroyed the paper in Florida as a liberal paper, and to come right back to the same topic. I don't understand what Jeb was trying to accomplish there. And I'm sure that his staff had some clever strategy, but you can't go into a debate with a previous game plan and implement it. Debates are like jazz. You've got to go in and you've got to follow the rhythm and you've got to follow the mood, and then if it feels right, do it. But if it doesn't feel right, even if your advisors are all excited, don't do it.
Well, you are the master of that. I mean, we watched you in the last presidential election. You're being humble with that face, but you are. Who do you think performed the best? I mean, they're saying Rubio. I would agree Rubio and Cruz, but what do you think?
Well, as Frank Luntz reported last night, that one section with Cruz, Luntz said he has never seen a score that high. He said that 26 of the 28 people on dials had to have given Cruz 100 out of 100 for it to be that high. And he had never in his entire career seen that. So in a sense, you'd have to say that Cruz had an amazing night. Rubio's great strength, which comes up every single debate, is he's very likable. And in television, as Ronald Reagan understood and Walter Mondale and Jimmy Carter didn't, being likable is about 80% of the business. I mean, they'll listen to your words after they decide they like you. And so I think Rubio has enormous latent advantages, and I think the odds are reasonably high he's going to be on the ticket.
Who would you want to have a beer with, Sandra? Or, I suppose, eat a pot brownie with, as Ted Cruz said.
Well, it sounds like I have to have a beer with all of them, because I still didn't really get what their plans were to grow the economy. So I think talking winners and losers of this debate last night, the loser was the American voter who was promised a debate on the economy, your money, jobs, and the candidates were never really given a chance to go there. Fox Business, I will be moderating the next GOP debate, and I will actually ask the candidates those important questions. We didn't really hear from them on that last night. That being said, social networking, Harris, you're big on there. You cannot underestimate the power of those tools, Twitter, Facebook. And a lot of the analysis after last night's debate showed that Donald Trump, as he has been in previous debates, was not the #1 most talked about candidate on social networking. It was actually Dr. Carson, #1. Marco Rubio was the second most talked about, then Trump. I thought that was a really interesting change from recent debates that we have seen, that Dr. Carson was leading the conversation online.
Yeah, you know what I wonder from you, Mr. Speaker, is this. We get all geared up. We can't wait to watch these things. There are events like Super Bowls now, politically speaking. But are they all that important? Because we saw Carly Fiorina break out, bust out the first two debates and then fade away in the polling. So these big moments for Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, what do they really mean?
Well, I mean, first of all, if you get your big moment, then you have to build on your big moment. And I think one of Carly's challenges is that, as smart as she is, she hasn't figured out the thematic that would keep her growing. And if you don't keep growing, then you slide. But by the way, on Trump, I actually think he did something very smart. Trump, for the last week or so, has been way too brittle. I mean, if you watched him, you know, talking about Seventh-day Adventist and all this stuff, whining in Iowa, why don't you love me anymore? I mean, it was pretty embarrassing. And I like Donald a lot. I think he's very smart. I actually think the best thing he could do is what he did last night, which is calm down.
Interesting.
Let people get used to him being in the room without him being dominant. He didn't suffer any hits. And at the end of the evening, he was doing just fine.
And
so for him,
something else. Didn't he put the nail in the coffin for Kasich?
Well, he certainly gave Kasich a hard problem.
I think Kasich had a tough night because Trump went after him.
And that's Trump's style.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch, but he only took that one really hard shot.
Yeah.
It was a hard
He didn't try to dominate the whole evening.
No, he didn't. He was very calm. He maybe he did some of Hillary's yoga poses. Who knows?
Maybe it was strategic.
What will be fun at some point is if Trump goes after Rubio and then Rubio goes after Trump, because they're pretty evenly matched in speed.
You hear that, Sandra Smith?
Like that.
The FBN debate? Taking some notes? All right. Well, amid all the fireworks and face-offs that we saw between the candidates, many of them also took on the debate moderators and the mainstream media. Let's listen.
This is not a cage match. And you look at the questions. Donald Trump, are you a comic book villain? Ben Carson, can you do math? John Kasich, will you insult two people over here? Marco Rubio, why don't you resign? Jeb Bush, why have your numbers fallen? How about talking about the substantive issues people care about?
Does this count? Do we get credit for this one?
And Carl, I'm not finished yet. The contrast with the Democratic debate, where every fawning question from the media was, which of you is more handsome and wise?
Carl, are we really talking about getting
a government
involved in fantasy football? Wait a second. We have $19 trillion in debt. We have people out of work. We have ISIS and Al-Qaeda attacking us. And we're talking about fantasy football? Can we stop? How about we get the government to do what they're supposed to be doing? secure our borders, protect our people, and support American values and American families. Enough on fantasy football. Let people play. Who cares?
Do I take the product? Yes. I think it's a good product.
To be fair, you were on the homepage of their website with the logo over your shoulder.
If somebody put me on their homepage, they did it without my permission.
Does that not speak to your vetting process or judgment in any way?
No, it speaks to the fact that I don't know that it's going on. See, they know.
All right, so many people saying that the moderators were the big losers. Also, Mr. Speaker, their first question out of the gate was, what was your biggest weakness? So I tweeted out, I think the moderators' biggest weakness is nasty, dumb questions. What do you think?
I have never seen an entire team go in the tank that badly. I mean, you've had various cases where a moderator is bad for one or two questions. These folks, it was almost like they got together in a pre-game show and said, what can we do to prove to the American people that CNBC and MSNBC and NBC are so unbelievably left-wing that we can't be civil in dealing with Republicans. And I think they got killed in the public.
What's interesting, though, Speaker, is that this turned out to be a great foil for everybody up on that stage, though. I mean, you talked about debates, and I love that line, debates are like jazz. Well, pretty much the moderators were spinning out of control, and that allowed everybody on stage to do their dance moves.
I'm writing a newsletter today because at Gingrich Productions I do 2 free newsletters a week. And the one today, one of my points is, it was almost like watching the scene in Gladiator where Russell Crowe begins to teach the gladiators how to work as a team. You could see, if you went back and you some college class ought to do this, if you go back and look at that debate, you see the Republican candidates beginning to realize, oh, this is going to be the game. Right. Let's gang up on the moderators.
Let's play it. Yeah.
And
by
the end of the evening, you had a Republican team clearly winning decisively over the liberal team who were totally confused.
And unified, by the way, by the mainstream media. Who would have thunk that? However, I think they were channeling a little bit of your style. They got a little nudie last night. Because we're going to throw back, it's Throwback Thursday, to this moment from a debate where our one lucky guy did it first.
How do you respond to people who say that your campaign has been a mess so far?
Well, let me say, first of all, Chris, that I took seriously Brett's injunction to put aside the talking points. And I wish you would put aside the gotcha questions.
Nice. A lot of people love that.
They learned from the master.
Do you think Rubio did the original?
Chris didn't love it.
He can handle it. But do you think that Rubio took a page from your playbook last night?
Well, I mean, look.
Sorry, Ted Cruz.
Again, it's like jazz. I mean, there's a certain limited number of songs you can play.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Cruz is a very smart guy, as is Rubio. It's interesting. They're both 44. They're both really smart. Different kinds of IQs, but very, very smart. That whole riff that Cruz did, well, you'll notice he's defending the other members.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very, very interesting whole run that he does at that point. The other part of that I thought that was really interesting, after the show I was watching, I think it was on Hannity, and Trump comes on. And Trump says, I love all of them. Yeah. We're all a team.
Yeah.
Now, at 7 o'clock last night, if you had said, by the end of this debate, they will be so mad at CNBC that Donald Trump will say he loves all the means he probably even loves Kasich. I mean, it's just
by the way, Donald, I think, really nailed it when he called them out on the negotiation. And they were caught lying. They said, no, we were always going to have a 2-hour debate. It was widely reported in the New York Times.
Well, he tweeted out the agreement.
Yeah. I mean, so again, if they lost their credibility, that was really a moment where they sealed the deal.
Yeah, this has just come in from our D.C. team, our producing team. So Rick Santorum's campaign now is growing in Iowa. They're adding staff members today. As I was watching last night, I was wondering, as you move forward, you're going to need to spend some of that cash now to get strong if you did well last night. And on that list, I would say Marco Rubio. Who else would you add to that list?
Well, I mean, look, there are a whole bunch of them about to face reality in Iowa, in particular because it's a very complicated caucus state.
And on the ground.
You have to be on the ground. Trump has to be on the ground. I think he is. Carson has to be on the ground. And I think he actually is in all 99 counties. Rubio's got to be on the ground. Cruz has got to be on the ground. Jeb has to be on the ground. I mean, all these guys have got to play very hard in Iowa if they're going to come out of there and still be seen as viable candidates.
I spoke to Rick Santorum this morning, and he was very happy with the way things went. He was in the undercard debate, and that's an interesting dynamic because Lindsey Graham, Rick Santorum, they were given a very good opportunity, a nice platform to really get their views out there with a lot more time and space than the
remember, people shouldn't underestimate Santorum because at this stage in 2011, he looked hopeless. And he won Iowa. Exactly. And in fact, he won it decisively, except for the fact that the state chairman didn't count.
We know what happens to people who win Iowa, though, typically. Very quickly, a lot of heat Ed Meese is bringing on the RNC. I know CNBC's taking it, but they're blaming Reince Priebus for this. He's sort of saying that he's going to watch these debates. What do you say, Speaker? Should heads roll over that debacle last night?
Well, I think two things. One, I really like Ted Cruz's proposal that they ought to have moderators who've actually voted in a Republican primary. Which would cause all sorts of confusion. But the other is, I think that Reince ought to talk very seriously to NBC. I mean, I'm not sure NBC deserves another debate, given the totally dishonest debate they had last night. And that will cause real chaos. But Priebus has done something that I didn't think he could do, and I didn't particularly support, but it worked. He has limited the number of debates, which has actually made them more important. I mean, you're getting huge audiences, which back when we did, I think, 22, and Hillary and Obama, I think, did 25. You never had the importance of them. These are now big events that have been staged pretty well. I know for last night he was totally furious with CNBC and felt like he had been betrayed, that it wasn't that he hadn't tried to set it up right. They just plain lied to him.
And we will have more on last night's debate. And don't forget, the next debate you can see on the Fox Business Channel. All right, Secretary of State John Kerry in Vienna today ahead of another round of talks on how to beat ISIS in Syria. And for the very first time, Iran will be at the negotiating table, a key backer of the Assad regime. So is this a good idea or a very dangerous precedent? Plus, Wisconsin Congressman Paul Ryan is now one of the most powerful men in American politics, third in line to the White House, succeeding John Boehner as Speaker of the House moments ago. But will he be able to unite the deeply divided GOP conference and make the party effective again? We will ask our #OneLuckyGuy who knows a thing or two or even more about that job, former House Speaker Newt Gingrich.